Joao Pedro was Brighton's record signing in 2023. Now he's being sold to Chelsea after 2 years for double the money. Brighton fans think the fee is too small, but under Fabian Hürzeler, it kind of makes sense. Under the German manager, Brighton's system has shifted. There's less positional play and more vertical transitions, and there's a greater reliance on wide overloads and press triggers, with Matoma, Minte, Kadioglu, Estepinian all getting wide and going high, and the new addition of De Kuiper will also add to that width and forward play. And then the press has been led really well by the likes of Jorginho Ruta, Danny Welbeck, and towards the end of the season, Brian Gruder. And there's a more fast tempo about the system, high intensity, and fewer slow build-ups like there were under Roberto De Zerbi. They both like to keep possession, which actually, interestingly, Brighton's best run was a 7-game unbeaten streak last season, and they had less possession in those games. So that shift you could see towards the end of the season as well. There was less possession for Brighton, and they were going forward faster, more intense, happy to surrender the ball and hit on the counter-attack. But under De Zerbi, Pedro could drop into midfield, combine and overload the deeper zones. Under Hurzeler, Brighton want forwards who stretch the pitch and go forward quickly, not slow it down, which is something that Joao Pedro doesn't do that well. He is more of a slower build-up type player. As I've just mentioned, Joao Pedro is a build-up player. He's a false 9 or hybrid 10-9. He's a ball-to-the-feet striker who likes overload, technical links and attacking between the lines. He's not the best in behind, and he's not the most physical, being able to pin defenders. He can do it, but it's definitely not one of his strengths. And when you look at his stats versus forwards, he's in the 19th percentile for non-penalty goals and total shots over the last 365 days. So for a player that claims he's a striker, personally I believe he's best as an attacking midfielder, but for a player that is a striker, being that low in the percentiles for non-penalty goals isn't the best. But if you look at his build-up play, he's in the 88th percentile for assists compared to forwards, 92nd percentile for expected assisted goals, 90th percentile for shot-creating actions, 93rd percentile for passes attempted, 96th percentile for progressive passes, 97th percentile for progressive carries, and the 90th percentile for successful take-ons. Which is very surprising for a striker, and this shows how much he likes to drop deep, create, get the ball, and be that creative spark. He somewhat replaced Pascal Gross last season. Obviously he played slightly higher than Gross did, but that creativeness was something that Brighton were relying on with him. It didn't come off very well towards the end of the season. He started well, but dropped off towards the end of the season. But as you can see, just with these stats alone, the overall stats, he's a connector, he's not a runner. And in this system, Brighton need the latter. They need that striker or attacking midfielder who's strong, physical, is going to run in behind, who's going to be a nuisance, like Jorginho Ruta, Danny Welbeck, and new signings, Babis Kostelis and Stefanos Tsimas. So, just from these stats, it's no surprise that Joao Pedro has left the club. And then, if you look at Pedro's stats under De Zerbi and under Hurzeler last season, and then De Zerbi was the 23-24 season, his minutes are roughly the same, 2,742 under De Zerbi and 2,133 under Fabian Hürzeler. He did play 10 more games under De Zerbi and 7 more 90s, which is quite a big difference there, but minutes-wise, it's not the biggest, only a couple of games. Goals-wise, he did play in 2 extra competitions under De Zerbi, so keep that in mind. But 20 goals under De Zerbi and only 10 goals under Fabian Hürzeler. so he was not a scorer under Hurzeler in his system. Assists is where it's interesting. Only 3 under De Zerbi and 7 under Hurzeler, which is really, really interesting, because he's meant to be that goal scorer up front. The stats should really be the other way around. More goals this season and more assists last season. But the assist stat shows how he likes to be that creator, which you need in a team, but it's not something Hurzeler was wanting or relying on him to do. XG wise, there's a massive difference. 17 XG under Roberto De Zerbi and only 8.9 under Hurzeler. So he wasn't getting into them attacking positions to score the goals like he did under De Zerbi. And then attempted passes is quite a big difference. 950 attempted and only 661 under Fabian Hürzeler. Again, shows under De Zerbi he was given that license to drop deep, be that connector, make the passes. Touches in the box, 215 per 90 and 122 under Hurzeler. So again, De Zerbi's given him that license to get into the box more and have more touches, not try and just score the goals. He's trying to create stuff in the box, which is something that frustrated fans under De Zerbi at the end of the season. Brighton weren't quite at it. The passes were a little bit astray. They were a bit too slow in the build-up, but it's something that suits Joao Pedro. In attacking zones, touches, 741 versus 508. So again, he's getting more touches on the ball under De Zerbi, which is no surprise because he's a player that likes to get the ball. In middle zones, 547 against only 387. And then deeper zones, 120 versus only 60. So again, that's showing that he likes to drop deep. And if you look at these heat maps, on the right-hand side is Joao Pedro's under De Zerbi. You can see he's red, really spread out. So he's getting the ball a lot in many different places. And then on the right-hand side, or the other side, you can see there's a lot less red and it's more focused on the left-hand side, sort of up front, which is where Hurzeler liked his players, that position, to stay. But he is a quality player, there's no doubt about that. You can see from his stats over the last year in the creating sense and under De Zerbi in the 23-24 season. But just not for this system. And Brighton's data team probably saw that mismatch early on in Hurzeler's system, and that's why he's been allowed to leave this summer. But why Chelsea? Well, Chelsea are looking for flexible, technical attackers, which Joao Pedro is, and it looked likely he was going to be used as a rotation piece or a versatile forward, but his Club World Cup form and impact has probably pushed him to first choice. 3 goals in 163 minutes at Chelsea in the quarter-final, semi-final and final of the Club World Cup. He's got a bracelet in the semi-final against Fluminense and the 3rd goal against PSG in the final to make it back-to-back Club World Cups for the Blues. And then Pedro fits Enzo Maresca's positional style more than Hurzeler's pressing game. He can do it, but you can just see him at Chelsea. He's given that freedom to drop deep, go wide, get into the pockets and link up the play. Doesn't have to make runs in behind every time. And he loves and thrives under that Italian style, as you saw with De Zerbi and now Maresca. So again, it's no surprise that he left, and it's even less of a surprise that he picked Chelsea. But my final thoughts. This isn't about Pedro being a failure or having failed under Hurzeler. It's about the fit. Brighton are ruthless, and if a player doesn't align, they move them on. And in this case, it is what it is. He didn't want to stay on the south coast either, and a big move was coming sooner rather than later for a player of his quality. But Brighton will miss his clutch moments and his clinical penalties. But they doubled their money on someone who doesn't really fit the system and has just 15 non-penalty goals across 2 seasons, 10 in 23-24 and 5 last season. But let me know in the comments, is it a smart sell from Brighton or is it a bit short-sighted? Let me know down below. But thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and you know the outro by now. Do it with me. Adios!